Hello, dear Boomsters, and welcome to episode 3 of the Boom Show. Today with us, or with me, with us, I would say, is Charlie Mack from Dublin, and you're going to see him in a second. Charlie, can you talk about your growth story first, so that we know what we are going to have to expect from this hour with you? And I give you the numbers first, the ones that I know at least. You have grown your business from 170 people to 600 people in 6 years. You have grown your revenue from 6 million British pounds sterling to 27 million British pound sterling. And the fourth number that we have, your company, your business has served 4,000 people when you arrived 6 years ago. It now serves 22,000 people. Is that correct?
Yes, Dave, and welcome to all the viewers. I'm absolutely delighted to be sharing Extern's growth story with you today. Those numbers are amazing, aren't they, when you think that they've quadrupled, more than quadrupled in 6 years' time. So I'm really looking forward to having a chat with you about the secrets, or maybe not so secret, maybe the common denominators between business growth and the success story of Extern. I'm really super excited to be sharing that with you today.
First of all, it's a social business. You sometimes call it a social justice business. You also say it's a non-profit organization. My first question that I have for you is, what do you do with the profits if it's a non-profit organization?
As a non-profit organization, any profit that we make is reinvested into delivering more services for our vulnerable service users. So people talk about service users maybe as being clients in other businesses, but we call them service users because they're people. They are the 22,000 people that you mentioned, Dave, who are the most vulnerable in society in Ireland. We provide services across 28 counties of the 32 counties in Ireland. And as your listeners will know, that means it's UK and the Republic of Ireland, because Northern Ireland is still just about, brackets, part of the United Kingdom. And our services are across the whole island of Ireland. So the profits from our services go back into ensuring that we can reach more and more people. And I think you can see that from the numbers that you mentioned, the 6 million to 27 million growth. But we don't take profits from it. We reinvest and deliver to what is our vision. And our vision at Extern is that we want to be a global leader in changing lives. Changing lives is the key piece. But we want to be the best. We want to be world's best at doing that. So every single penny or euro, because we deal with both currencies, is reinvested in reaching more people.
Great. And those people that you help, you already mentioned that These are vulnerable people. Why are they vulnerable?
Okay, great question. So when Extern started in 1978, so 42 years ago, the charity was set up primarily to help offenders, so prisoners who were coming out of the 2 prisons in Northern Ireland at that stage, and help them re-establish themselves, rehabilitate themselves and get back into society. What we have done, and the secret to our growth, is we have asked, why do people offend? And that has taken us into looking at drug addictions, alcohol addictions, gambling addictions, homelessness. It's taken us into looking at childhood trauma, mental health, suicide ideation, as well as looking at minority groups that often get involved in crime, so refugees and travellers. So all of these vulnerable people have a common denominator, which is they get in trouble with the law. And we are, as Extern, there to stop them, first of all, getting involved in trouble. And then if they do happen to get in trouble, then we'll help them get themselves back on their feet. So we believe in the nitty-gritty of changing people's lives, of the most vulnerable, the most difficult to reach. And that's taken us, as I say, into not just dealing with people coming out of prison, but stopping people going into prison in the first place. Because we believe a fundamental value of Extern is that everyone deserves a second chance. And we're passionate about making sure that all of our service users are not written off by society, that
Charlie,
they have a second chance.
is that not a government job?
Well, interesting you say that, because sometimes government doesn't always do what we might think it should do. And sometimes it takes charities, which, as you've mentioned, is a business. It's a social care business. We are primarily funded by government to do it because they've seen the service models, the business models that we offer, and they've invested in us to deliver services to these vulnerable groups. And quite often, charities, I think, have a unique skill in being able to be a go-between between commissioners or government and vulnerable people, because quite often the vulnerable people that we deal with don't trust government, don't trust the probation services, don't trust social housing to meet all of their needs. And therefore, charities like Extern, which is the largest social justice charity on the island of Ireland, proud to be so, are there to meet people at the point of their need. And quite often, government services don't really get to the most difficult people. And we're proud that we've more than quadrupled the size of our business in 6 years to reach more and more vulnerable people.
But of course, government still has an important job in that, because the money, like usually they're your clients. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. And part of the financial growth and success of Extern has been because we have competitively tendered for services to meet those social needs. And so we rely largely, about 95% of our income is reliant on 5 governments in Northern Ireland, and similarly 5 government departments in the Republic of Ireland. And we also receive money from European Social Fund and corporate donors and other people, other philanthropists who are prepared to support the aims and mission. Our mission is to transform lives and transform society. So by helping people, we are also transforming society's perception of the people who most people write off. Most people don't think, unless an offender has come across your pathway. You possibly don't think about people who are in prison. You possibly don't think about homelessness, or you possibly don't think about people who have increasingly mental health issues.
Yeah. So you bring that to people's attention, and that's part of the job that you do. But that's not what people or governments pay you for, actually. What they really pay you for is that you take care of the people who are on the edge of societies, if I may call it that. Absolutely.
So, but we do perform an important role in changing government's perception. Yeah. So, when I started in Extern 6 years ago, there were services that were not commissioned by government, that we had to influence government in the first place before they would commission. A good example of that is our bail supervision service. So that is for young people. Now that judges, we influenced government in Dublin to say that it's not really good for young people's mental health that at a very young age, a teenage age, they are sent to prison, because it further damages their mental health, and they've an additional obstacle to get over when they come back into society. And therefore we were able to influence them to commission a service, which we were then successful in getting, and delighted that has grown to be 14 million of our business in the Republic of Ireland.
Thank you for that. Charlie, this show is about business growth. So your business growth is huge. That's tremendous business growth. And we want to talk about that in a few seconds. Before we do, I would like to address you out there. Please ask your questions right away. Whenever I see a question on the screen in front of me, I will ask it to Charlie, and you will get your answer. So please start shooting, and we will get you your answer. Back to you, Charlie. Business growth. When you arrived at Extern 6 years ago, did you know that you guys were going to grow at that rate?
Not at the rate we were growing. I mean, when I came into Extern, the first thing I would say is it's all about people. Business growth is all about people.
But my question wasn't that. My question was,
No.
did you know? Did you know that you were going to grow? Like, was that your vision that you had for the institution, for the organization?
Yeah, I could say that we could provide a lot more than we were doing because of the excellent work that the staff were already doing. And I worked with my board to develop an ambitious strategy for the organization. So in my time, I've had 2 strategic periods because our
let me go back to my question, Charlie, first.
Yeah, sorry.
What was the growth rate that you thought was going to be possible?
Possibly doubling.
Doubling in what
certainly
time?
Not.
Until now?
In about 10 years.
Okay.
We kind of expected. So we've had a much more rapid growth than we would have expected, even although we're an ambitious charity. To double your size is quite ambitious. But
it is absolutely.
Yeah.
So usually when we look at business growth, we say that there are 3 to 4 elements of it. You sell better, you have a better product, or you have better people. Does any of these 3 apply for your situation?
I think the first thing, they all apply. They all apply. So if I can talk firstly about people. So the most important secret to Extern's success is the dedication, commitment, and compassion and excellent staff team that I have.
Was it not there when you arrived?
Absolutely there in the numbers that we had. So the 170 that we had at that stage, and we've now actually got over 600 staff working across Ireland. But what we needed to do was ensure that our services were being delivered of a consistent standard and consistent quality across. So whether you received your service in Dublin or Derry, or Belfast or Ballymun, that the services were all exactly the same.
That's the product now.
That's the product. Yeah. So I'll stick with the people, will I, before going on to the product? Because,
yes, please.
So with people, the most important thing was to ensure that they were delivering consistently of a high standard. And I was delighted that one of the first things we were able to achieve was a contract from the Northern Ireland Social Care Council to train social workers and social care staff, not only in our own organisation, but in other organisations across the whole of Northern Ireland.
And where did that come from? I mean, you need to get that job first.
Well, we have a fantastic practice development unit, and the manager of that unit was able to tender for that work and achieve growth in the training aspect. But more than that, it's about values. So for me, getting all of the 170 people on the board aligned to a set of values was the first thing that was important to do with my team when I came into Extern. So culture, values, so important in growing any business. So we developed, through consultation with staff and with the board, a set of values which have served us so well for our business growth. And these values, if I can take a moment to explain what they are leading, enterprising, ambitious, professional, and working together. So those are values which, right through our strategic periods, we have ensured that all staff are aligned to those values. So they came up from the staff as suggestions, down from the board as suggestions, and in the middle, we united and agreed on those as being our values. And ambition is a key one there. So our people, in terms of their ambition, it was very important to get all of our staff aligned to. We're not just ambitious for the charity, we're ambitious for the service
Let me
users.
interrupt you there.
Sure.
Because I need to make sense of all of that. You come into a business, 170 people wait for you or not. Because there's always this question when a new CEO comes into the business of, will I like him? Will he like what I've been doing so far? Will I have to change a lot? So there must be a moment where you also see some chaos in the business. Did that happen for you? Was there some chaos in the beginning? Or did everybody just thank you for coming here and do whatever you wanted to do with them?
No, of course not. And at the start, staff are very uncertain about the future, and the organisation had been through a period of instability. So it was very important for me to listen to staff to ensure they felt empowered about their input into the way forward. And I recognised very quickly that there were excellent staff in the organisation, and I wanted to encourage them to be the best that they could be, because our model is very much about people, about helping people in the first place, but also people to people services. So if the team do not feel that they've got a say, or that their ideas, their innovation, their enterprising and ambitious ideas can be harnessed, then they're not going to be excited about their job. So
how long did it take you until everybody was excited?
I would say it took between 6 to 9 months before, but because the services are quite disparate in terms of geography. So I held a number of road shows, I call them, where CEO road shows, where I would go out and speak to the staff and collect their ideas and ensure that we collectively had a vision for the organisation. So I started from scratch, as I say, because there had been a period of instability. So it was important that the team were aligned on the vision, mission and values.
And you had to travel. You were the man traveling. You did the tour.
Yes,
the tour of Ireland
I did a road
to
show.
Start getting to know all of the 170 people and to discuss these values with them and to come up with a new set of values that were all of your values, not just your values as Charlie, the individual man. I mean, that's something that we can go back to. I have two questions for you from the audience.
Sure.
Decidilo, hello, thanks for being back again. Hi, I've read about B companies. Does that make sense to you? B companies in the US? I'm not sure about B, which are private companies whose objective is not profit, but social purposing their profit. Do they exist in Europe? I'm not sure about the question actually. Do you understand what Decidilo is saying here?
Possibly. I'll try to understand it anyway. So certainly external or in Europe, we in Ireland, well, we're all in Europe, but well, sort of. Well, we'll not go there. Let's not go there.
That's your own trap. You built it for yourself, John.
Unless we're talking about Eurovision Song Contest, and then we're all in that. But no, we are talking about private companies, and Extern is essentially three private companies. We have an Extern group structure, which is the holding company, and then a subsidiary company, which is Extern Northern Ireland, and another subsidiary, which is Extern Republic of Ireland. But we're set up as a charitable purpose, but effectively in law we are a private company, and the directors or the board are directors of each company. So does that help?
Well, his question is, do they exist in Europe? So basically what you're saying is, yes, this exists. I mean, companies. Okay, good. Decidilo, if you would like to add something, please do. Guillermo Catalano, very interesting to see that charity and professionalism are not antagonizing concepts. Thank you, Charlie, he says. Okay, fantastic. Thank you for that comment. No, absolutely. I mean, it's business. One of the challenges I had when I came in was that the chairperson who appointed me was very clear. He was from a business background, and he felt that there were opportunities for the charity to develop as a business. And I'd had experience in my previous job, which was working with blind people on a UK-wide basis. I was based in London, but I was working across the whole of the United Kingdom. And I had experience of developing business models. So Extern, as you rightly said at the beginning, Dave, is a business, but it's with a charitable purpose. And the team were a little bit suspicious, I have to say, at the start, but then got it in terms of, well, if we don't look at, we use a balanced scorecard approach. I'm not sure whether that's something your viewers will have heard of, but the 4 pillars of customer, people, finance and processes. And I brought that in through my team, through my strategic leadership team into the organization. As a new concept, that we have to look at the 4 pillars in order to be a successful business. Not just, quite often charities tend to just look at the customers and don't really look in detail at the 3 other aspects.
in building a successful business.
There's another cliche for charities, which is that they're not very efficient.
Yeah, and we've been on a journey in my time through my fantastic finance team of sharpening our pencil because we've grown from 6 million to 27 million, but we have to ensure that every contract that we win or every service that we provide is covering all of our costs. And quite often charities fall into the trap of not, we call it in English, full cost recovery. I'm not sure whether that will translate, but in a sense that when you provide a service, you have overheads. And you must ensure that when you're tendering, you provide the overhead costs in your bid, and that also, if possible, and certain funders will give you profit on top of that, and it depends on the funder. But we now have a very efficient finance team. It has been a journey. We've now have a very efficient finance team that ensure that when we tender for the provision of services, that we are making sure that we cover all of our costs in that. So because very, very often, and I've seen it, I've worked in charities for 25 years, and I've seen charities not operating as a business and thinking, oh, it's all about the people, let's run after this business even if we make a loss. And sadly, in my time, we've taken over 3 charities who got themselves into financial difficulties for that very reason. And because of our vision, mission and value to those charities, we were able to bring them in to Extern, take them over essentially, and keep them going, because the back office services of finance, property, marketing, comms, and all of that can be provided to a number of organisations. You become more efficient as you grow, and that's certainly what we've found.
Great. Decidilo has helped me to understand here. He said B Corps are for-profit businesses that volunteer to be graded by the non-profit lab to ensure they're meeting the highest standards of social and environmental performance, public transparency, and legal accountability.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Does that change your
no,
answer?
not really. I mean, the term B doesn't mean anything to me, but I mean the concept of the question does, in the sense that as a charitable private company, we are compliant with governance requirements from the Charity Commission in Northern Ireland, the charity regulator in the Republic. So I would feel it would translate. It's just we don't call it the same thing. We just call them private limited companies with a social purpose or charitable purpose.
Great, thank you. We want to keep learning from you about how to grow our business. So we imagine you traveling through the Ireland for 6 to 9 months, meeting everybody, even not only in the big cities, but wherever those 170 people are. What were some of the conversations that you had with people? Maybe also the conversations.
Yeah. So firstly, when the most suspicious conversation that I had was one I've talked about, which is, can a charity be a business? And I put that right up front and said, absolutely. And this is why. And I explained that, and my team, my directors team, my senior team all was with me in those roadshows, or we went round different sites to ensure we were visible, because it's really, really important in a business for the CEO and the senior team to be visible. So that's part of the people package. It's all very, very important. The other things that I was really keen to stress to everybody in the organization, you guys on the front line will have the best ideas. So let's listen to your enterprising thoughts, to your innovative ideas about how we can improve things for our vulnerable service users. So I describe that as being moving our service model upstream, or moving our business model upstream. So I've mentioned at the start that Extern was primarily starting as providing services to people who were in prison. So the conversations I had in those initial 6 to 9 months was, what causes people? Why do people offend? And then that discussion led to ideas from staff about, well, why don't we provide services, particularly, and this is particularly true in the, we've seen our addiction
I can't hear Charlie anymore. Gustavo, any input from your end? I think we might have lost him. I'm reading the questions here.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay, so you're back. I had lost you
Okay.
there.
Dublin,
Want to become
Dublin
famous? Aha, there is a spammer in our chat, and then another one. Okay, so we have spammers here. Goodbye, spammers. Leave us right now. Charlie, I might not have heard everything you said. You told them that you want to, I think, push the business model upstream. Is that what you said? Like,
yes.
Use what you did for people who came out of prison or who were still in prison, or kind of in between, and then use what you have learned from working with these people also for other client segments. Is that correct?
Yes. So continuously I ask the question, why? So what causes people to offend? Why do people offend? And that led our staff to innovative thinking around, well, why don't we provide services for the causes of crime?
Yeah. So what would a root cause be in that case? Can you explain it again? Now I understand what you mean by that?
Yeah, sure. So why do people offend? They offend because maybe they've had childhood trauma. Maybe they've had a very difficult start in life.
What could that have been?
So it could have been a parent who was absent. It could have been a parent who was beating the child or sexually abusing a child, or drunk themselves as parents. So not there for their children growing up. That has a huge impact on people's development, on young people's development, and often that leads to crime and to not thinking they're of any value, which leads to crime. So mental health. And
the idea, excuse me, Charlie, the idea of asking that question and go back to the root cause, would the result of that be that in the end you start doing prevention